Hello viewers, I hope you're doing well, as this is the second section of this series in which we will explore foreshortening. The official definition is to portray or show an object or view as closer than it is or having less depth or distance as an effective perspective or the angle of vision. I think of it as body parts hiding in the depths of motion. Now, with this first three clips that I've recorded, I'm merely showing you how I would attempt this foreshortening cylinder. Now, please enjoy the rest of the video. Thank you. Starting with the cylinder, the more you move it, the more or less you will see. Now, as we apply this to our own skills in art, this would add a whole nother dimension and skill to dynamics and foreshortening, which will then further push our boundaries in art. Now, with that in mind, I'm going to show you a few methods of how I would attempt this. The first method I'm going to show you is the coil method. Now, with the coil method, it is very messy, but as you can see, it can produce results. Now, the results may look a bit cluttered, but it is very good for starters and practicing. Now, if you look up on the internet, you'll see a lot of different techniques of how people coil, and I'd say all of them are very useful for coiling. Now, with the fist facing toward us, we'll see less of the arm, which is the forearm, the bicep that I'm drawing right now, moving on to the shoulder. Now the shoulder should be a bit taller in my mind. It doesn't look like much, but if you keep trying, then you'll eventually get it. Now, I don't have many methods. What I would usually do is look in the mirror or look online. I would usually look in the mirror if I don't remember how to draw something um, by my memory, because I'm usually always thinking about muscle placement when it comes to foreshortening and dynamics, because that'll help me remember where to put certain muscles or how certain things come into play when I'm drawing. Now, I would just recommend using a mirror. That way you'll notice more things about your body and where it's placed. Now, this is body foreshortening. You can use these references any way you like. I'm just giving you an example of what I would do. Um, well, I also challenge you to draw a female version of this, because that way you'll gain your own experience from your own knowledge, by using a reference or trying your best to start out from your imagination. Now, the foundation that I use is a box foundation. It works especially well with male body types. Female body types are a bit different, for as they have multiple body types with apple, pear analogies that go along with it. Um, this right here would be the front view. Um, the middle one would be the front view, and the ones off to the side are the 3/4 views. The one with the left closest to us, and then there's one with the right side most closest to us. Those are what we call 3/4 views. Now, relating back to the beginning of the video, with the cylinder example I had, it applies the same thing as the body. The more you move it, the less or more you can see. For this instance, we see less of the right side with the left 3/4 view, and then more of the right one. Now, backs are even more advanced. Well, to me, they are, because I disregarded them as a rookie artist. Um, but the more I paid attention to them, the more easier they got with my YouTube video tutorials and book lessons that I bought. Still the same concept with the box for each and every view, but the more complicated the view, then the less of the box shape you'll see, so keep that in mind. Now, with the sides are especially challenging due to like the breasts and the body contours like stomachs and shoulders. Um, the more to the side it is, the less you see the box and more of just a rectangular-ish body type. Muscle tone is especially key. Now with these two outer ones, they're just examples that I give you, but they're especially difficult to draw since you barely even see the rectangle or box at all. But just use these as future references, please. Now with the arms, it's very difficult in a way because of how it's so like universal. Now with the arm, I would use cylinders as if I was starting out. I don't use the cylinder technique because I'm much more sophisticated artist now that I don't need to use those rookie tactics, but I would recommend starting out with them before you get used to just drawing arms out on your own. Now with the hands, you can use any hand technique you want. I know a famous comic book artist uses not pentagon, but oh, yeah, it is the pentagon, a pentagon shape ish, like a house, I guess, to draw his hands because of how the hand is shaped. I would usually just go for a square approach, and if the hand is facing some other direction, then I would give it some three-dimensional depth just to help my eyes better with the fingers and the spaces between the fingers, like mentioned in the previous video. Um, that's one way to approach that. I would recommend other ways to approach it if I had known what to give, but start out with the base hand and then approach. I would approach with the thumb to the other fingers. This here approach is major foreshortening with the fingers pointing at you. I didn't draw the base hand big enough. Um, if you were to put your hand on your face, like I just did, even though I can't show you, it would be about larger than half of your face. So when you're drawing, take that into account that your hands are pretty big. So if you ever need like a, in drawing ruler, just use the head as a measurement for the hand. That's what I would recommend. That's what I do. Now with this side one, I drew it with the three-dimensional depth I was talking about earlier of how it helps me with my eyes to draw hands. Now it's a bit of a weird approach and not really orthodox to most artists. If you look up like your favorite artist's way of drawing hands, it will definitely help. Now right here is the coil method without the cylinders. Um, it's a bit harder because, well, I haven't used the coil method in a while. That's why it looks so difficult because usually I would just start out with the drawing as it'll show up in a few seconds here. Now I use the reference for this, but whenever I'm drawing hands in a difficult position, like pointed outwards toward oneself, um, I would usually think what muscles are going to be showing when I draw that hand. So the circle I first drew would be the forearm to the bicep-ish. It'll look more like it when I finish with this hand right here. The knuckles are difficult because they disappear at certain movements, so you have to keep that in mind at all times. Same with the fingers, um, the bones in the fingers also. Now the proportion of this wasn't done correctly because I didn't measure out the finger depths. I'm still intermediate artist myself, so I sometimes have issues with this if I'm not like completely in the zone. But this is still good drawing with the arm all the way to the shoulder. Um, with the forearm, like I said with the cylinders, it will start to disappear when like it's shown when it's more viewed in a different sort of way. I I guess. um, the fingers, yeah, the fingers I messed up because I didn't measure them out correctly. I kept trying to make it look like it was pointing directly at me, but um, the three-dimensional view said nope, that's not how you're supposed to do it. Anyway, that mistake is very crucial to what it should have looked like. It should have been more spread out because it wasn't exactly pointing at me. Um, I noticed this because it doesn't look correct. Now, you'll have to keep that in mind when you're drawing, because I know that for myself, whenever I'm drawing something, it'll look good the first time I look at it, but then when I look at it again, it's just something always seems to be wrong out of the blue. That's why I take a long time to draw something with a pencil before I finalize it with ink, because I hate it when I messed up something that's super good with everything else, but there's just one part that I cannot stand. So always remember to double check your drawing, just like a English paper, because that is the most crucial thing to your art career if you ever were to start one.